I have an influencer story time for you. I was recently part of an influencer event created by a global company, and they completely botched this event. And I am going to be bringing you the red flags that I saw but ignored. I'm going to break down what I've learned to make sure I'm protecting myself so that this doesn't happen again, and we're going to be naming some names. So here's what happened. I got an email from Walmart. Yes, actual Walmart. I did double check the email, and it was from walmart.com. And later on in the story, we do confirm that it was one of their employees that contacted me. And she said, we are launching a brand new product. It is in association with a national day. So it's like National Ice Cream Day. And we would like for you to come and cover this event in one of the stores. Here's the list of stores across the nation that are participating and holding these events. If you could pick one of these and let us know, we'll save you a spot. And so I happen to be traveling from up north, where I was at my nephew's first birthday, back to where I live in the south. It's an already 7-hour drive without stops and without traffic and all of those things. And so I found a location that was not terribly far off my path and was going to add 2 hours to my travel, making it a 9-hour travel day for me with 3 dogs in the back of my car and my mother, who was also driving with me, who would be able to stay with my pups in the car while I popped into the store for the event to film it. And so I emailed them back. I said, here's the store that I will be at. Here's the situation. Here's what we're doing. I would love some more information so that I know what's going on, so I know how to document it properly for you so I can get in and out because my dogs will be in the car. And I never heard back from this person, but they had only emailed me a couple of days before the event. I literally had like 3 or 4 days to add this to my schedule while I was traveling. And so I figured that he had a lot of people emailing them back, a lot of people confirming, and I did confirm that I would go to this, so I just kind of let it be. I didn't want to send too many emails to this person as they were gearing up for this big event. So I went up north, I did the family birthday party and all the events, and then I started to drive back down where I took my 2-hour detour. I arrived at the store, which I double checked and confirmed was in fact on the list. And I walked into the store and they knew nothing about this. They bounced me from employee to employee to employee to finally a manager who knew absolutely nothing. At which point the manager of this store pulls up on his phone. We look up the lady's name and her email address and confirm she had never sent this store any information about them hosting this event. It was really, really bad. I showed them the email. We confirmed they were on the list. It was a whole thing. And I eventually had to leave the store without having any footage because they didn't have an event, because they didn't even know that there was an event. So I was contacted. I was told this is a specific store you should go to. I was not emailed back and the store knew nothing. So I wasted 2 hours of my time by going and then not even being able to benefit from it in any way. So here are my takeaways. And I should say I did email them after the fact to ask them what went on. They never responded to me. They never got back to me on any of this. So with that in mind, here's my red flags and here are my takeaways from this. The fact that she never responded back to me, the fact that it was right before the event, literal days before the event, those were red flags. I should have, and I did feel like something was wrong, but I try to be involved. I try to be supportive, especially of companies that I may work with in the future. And so I was prepared to do it anyway, on faith that they would have that situated. Now, what I could have done and should have done and will do in the future, I should have called that specific store, even though they were on the list. So their store number, their name, their address, all their information was on that list. I could have grabbed their phone number and given them a call a day or two before the event to confirm that it was going to happen. I probably would have had to speak to the manager, who I ended up speaking with in the store. And if they knew nothing about it, I could have saved myself a 2-hour trip off of my other trip. Now, if I had not been traveling from up north to down south on those particular days, the stores would have been like 5 hours away from me. And so it would have been another discussion or another conversation with them. If they hadn't responded for that, I probably would have said, okay, if we don't have any like guarantee this is happening, I'm not going to drive 5 hours to a store just to document this for them. If they had something close, if it was in my hometown, I might just pop into it. And if it didn't happen, that was fine. But from now on, I will be calling in advance because I'm no longer trusting the people in corporate, because especially if they're not communicating with me, that is telling me that there could be some issues there. So I'm going to call the people who have the boots on the ground, as they say. I'm going to call the store. I'm going to find out if that's something they're planning, if it's something that's been in their email, if it's something that's in the works. And if they don't know anything about it, I'm not going. I'm not going to go somewhere if they don't know anything about it. So making sure you call the local versions as opposed to just dealing with the corporate versions. And even if you have confirmation from corporate, it might be worth it to call the local divisions as well, just to make sure they truly, truly, truly are, because sometimes corporate might not have the right information. They might think everything is fine when it's not. It might be something that is some kind of communication issue and they're going to have to deal with it. So just doing your due diligence might save you a lot of time and effort. Now, I could have potentially, if I showed up there and I didn't have an event to go to, I potentially could have walked my little self back to the product, because the product probably was in the store. And I could have just filmed it there so that I had something. But if they didn't have an event, I also wasn't going to market it, because this was something they weren't paying me for. This was just an influencer event. They wanted people to come and do things. So this, on my part, was goodwill. I wanted to build up that I had a connection with this company for future use, for future brand deals. Now, I've worked with global and national companies all over the place in different capacities, but Walmart was not one of the ones that I've worked with yet. And so that is on my list for the future. At some point, I've worked with, Lowe's, and I've worked with tech companies, and I've worked with all sorts of really cool people, but I have not worked with Walmart yet. And so having that I was one of their influencers for an event, when I go to pitch them or an agent goes to pitch them on my behalf or they come to me, is potentially going to yield me better deals in the future. So I was willing to do it. And I could have created some content on it, but I didn't, because I wasn't getting paid for this. They knew nothing about it. They weren't communicating with me. If they had made any effort, I could have made the effort too. I actively chose not to. Now, red flag after the fact, I waited until some people posted the next day, and I went and looked at the hashtag that they gave us to use. And it looks like these events were not even real events. It was kind of like a taste stand where you could get a little spoon of the flavors, and then you film that and you put it online. So now I know, start paying attention to some of these events that companies are doing so that I know if it's going to benefit me in the future. So do your research in advance. If you're getting things from corporate and they're not emailing you back, red flags, and do your due diligence to make sure the people who are on the ground floor are actually aware of the situation and they are preparing for it, so that you know whether or not you should be going and doing these different things. Make sure the ducks are in a row. And make sure you're not going too far out of your way for things you're not getting paid for that aren't going to benefit you right now, but could potentially benefit you in the future, and make smart decisions about this. I still haven't heard anything back from Walmart. Nobody has apologized. Nobody has taken care of anything. Nobody has done anything about the fact that I took 2 hours out of my time to go and do this, and nobody knew anything about it. So Walmart, the ball is in your court. Would love to hear from you on this one, especially since I had to go so far out of my way and pay all that money and time to go and do these things. So please feel free to reach out to me, Walmart. I'd love to get you in on this one. But in the future, I will be much more careful working with companies like this, especially ones that are not communicating back and ones that do not follow up. That's a big thing. So I really have to think about doing things in the future with specific companies that do behave this way and have a track record of behaving this way. Drop your thoughts on this down below. What are some things that you can do to prevent this from happening to you and to me in the future? Let's start a conversation in the comments down below, and follow along for more helpful tips for influencers to help you level up and make this your most profitable year ever without getting scammed, without wasting your time, without having to drive 2 extra hours for something that doesn't exist. Follow along for more, and we'll see you in tomorrow's episode.